What's good? We here with Daddy O
Yep.
from well known from Stetsasonic, but in his own regard, well known as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. So we gonna just chop it up a little bit with you, man. I appreciate your time.
Oh, I appreciate the time, bro. Anytime.
Definitely. So first of all, I want to get right into what you're doing now.
Okay.
Now you're dropping an album every quarter this year. Is this
Yep.
correct?
Yep. And I'm gonna do it for a while until it makes sense to not do it. The long and short of it is that I don't even have an idea why I stopped making records.
Right.
It just was a mistake. And so I gotta make up for lost time.
Okay. Now, talk to me about your process and how you can actually do that. Because as a writer myself, I'm like,
Here's the cheat
It's
sheet.
hard.
This is the cheat sheet. I learned this from Chuck D. Do the album cover first.
okay,
Look at it. You can look at the title. You can see what it is. You know what you're gonna be writing on that album. From the Daddy-O cheat sheet, I say try one producer. You know,
Okay.
he understands the album, where it's gonna go, boom, and then just write the record. Maybe
Okay.
it's 6 records, maybe it's 19. Who knows?
gotcha.
But just write the record. But I think kind of beginning with the end in mind works. I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked back in the day. It just wasn't my process back in the day.
Right.
But it totally works for me at my age now because I could look at the album and say, okay, I want to do an album about that. And I start looking at things more in terms of albums than songs. Like if I meet a producer, he say, hey, D, I want to work with you. I say, let's do an album.
Right.
I don't be saying, give me a track no more. You know what I'm saying? I think it's old. We putting out so much material. I mean, we really learned that people don't give Jay-Z the credit that they should, but all this rapid fire, action came from Jay. It was Jay that was doing Who You With over here and this over here, and we were like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? We couldn't really catch up. Before we knew it, he had permeated the marketplace with a lot of material, but it wasn't whack. Like he was rhyming. He was just rhyming. He wasn't always rhyming the same, or it might have been on a soundtrack here or whatever, but he was rhyming. And I think Biggie would have did that too. I think Pac would have did it too. And I just think that I just don't know when we stop rhyming. Like my generation, something happened, and I'm still trying to figure it out, man. Like
isn't
what
it-
happened that made us say we're not gonna rhyme no more?
But isn't the older generation or older school, whatever you want to call it, rooted in albums? And once you didn't have a deal, you kind of stopped. Isn't that what it
Yeah,
really
I think
was?
so. But I'm just saying, like when I look at myself now and compare myself the way I did, right? It goes almost back to square one for me. Because when I started rhyming, I looked at myself just like the Jackson 5 or Earth, Wind and Fire or James Brown. But I was just rapping. But I was part of that tradition. I never made myself separate than them. I'm coming in the same shoes as Santana and Chicago.
Right.
I'm doing music a different way. You know what I mean? So that's the way I thought, and that was what I tried to do. So yes, I think some of that is true. It was based on a deal, and if we didn't have a deal, but the artist part of me should have never wanted to stop.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, again, man, I'm really trying to figure out what stopped guys in my generation from just saying, yo, we just not gonna do that no more. I don't care whatever else we did became record executives. I don't even care about that.
Right.
Why did we stop? You know what I'm saying? Like in difference to like Prince doesn't stop.
Right.
You know what I'm
I feel
saying?
you.
Like
I feel
why
you.
did we stop? And I still don't know why.
Does it have anything to do with the young man sport aspect of hip hop?
I don't think so because I feel like I'm a better writer now. And I look at some of my peers and I know how much better writers they would be right now.
Right.
If they just sunk their teeth into it because they know more. They've seen more. So that, it should come off like that. It shouldn't come off as, I think the young people do what the young people do. And I don't even think we ought to ever even be compared to them because we're so different. If you want to see us as elders in the sport, I appreciate it. The Wilt Chamberlains, the Bill Russells, even Michael Jordans, if you go like the Prodigy, Mobb Deep in them, they more like on that Jordan level. Me and Chuck is more like on that Dr. J kind of level. You know what I'm saying? But then there's people like Mel and them that go back to being like Bill Russell. So if you want to look at us like that, true. I don't think that's to compare those guys to now
Right.
the Golden State team or somebody that's doing that.
Right.
But I just feel like we should have never stopped. It almost felt like we lost the love for the game, and that's the part that frustrates me the most.
Right. Now, one person that never stopped, in my opinion, obviously he hasn't continued on, but your bandmate Fruquan.
Right.
And he even reinvented himself.
Right.
Which I thought was really amazing.
Well, I think Fruquan is one of those MCs, right? If you ever check Stetsasonic from the very beginning, a lot of times people used to think, oh, yeah, Stet follows Daddy-O. But if you listen to some of Fruquan's stuff, you see how we shaped around. And I mean, the story goes, short story is, Fuquan was introduced to us by somebody else.
Okay.
I looked at Delight and said, yo, if we don't put him in the group, he's going to come back to destroy us.
Right.
That kid's nice.
Yeah.
And we don't want to go up and battle. You know, we all in Eastern Europe. We don't have to battle this dude. Just put him in the group.
Right.
Like, then he's, you know, we on the same side. So, I mean, that was my solid decision. I mean, not to say Fuquan didn't make the decision to say yes to be in the group, but that was like the breaking point for me. Like, this kid is nice.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think he's always loved it. And I think that in that tradition, because I know he rolled with Wu and them, it's kind of sort of the same with Wu-Tang and them, right? They never really, like Raekwon ain't never stopped.
Very true.
You know, on the low, we don't be looking at him like that, but do you ever remember there was no Raekwon records? No. Do you remember when there was never Ghost records? No. You see what I'm saying? So that, you know, but I applaud that tenacity.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of us, especially if we don't go through the reinvention stage,
Yeah.
we just...
Yeah, and a lot of those guys, Raekwon is one of them. You know, there was a pretty good gap between albums at one point,
Right.
but then he came back so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And he never stopped working, but he didn't have, you know, there was a gap between
I
albums.
mean, I think it makes sense. I just think it makes sense to continue.
Yeah.
Again, man, I'm a little flabbergasted on like what made my generation stop.
Right. So let me ask you this. Now you have an album,
Right.
Everyone But KRS.
Right, everybody but KRS.
Everybody
yeah.
But KRS. And you're kind of like running up on MCs, and
I am.
You challenging some of the greats.
Yeah, most of my friends, yeah.
Why are you going at?
Because I
Yes.
really think we should be making records again. Like
Okay.
and I'm saying again, I shouldn't have to be saying again, but I got it, right? So I really think we should be making records again. And I feel like when I started this process, this was my process. I don't think I'm a radio artist. I believe we got lucky when Talking All Jazz hit the radio. I believe we got lucky when Sally hit the radio. I believe we got lucky when Go Stetson hit the radio. We a street group. We always been a street group, right? But some of my peers are radio guys to me naturally. You know, people like hearing their voices on the radio. They make great radio records, whatever. So I said, man, if I could do this good after I listened to my album, I said, that was the first one I cut. I said, if I could do this good, imagine what my peers could do.
Right.
And then I thought about hip hop in general. And that competition is usually the cornerstone. I mean, even Stetsasonic, we got our deal with a contest. It was always about, you know, contesting somebody. And I said, well, if I was to have to, at my age, at 55, challenge my peers, who couldn't I beat? And Chris was the name that I came up with.
Right.
I felt like I'd either give everybody a run for their money or I would smoke the rest of them.
Right.
But Chris is the only one that I'm saying, man, if the Democratic debate was tonight, he'd have that in his rhymes. And that would top me because I can't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's some things he would do that I just can't do. I feel everybody else's preparation time is going to be just like mine, and I'm just as good, you know, to get in there and do, you know, something. Maybe I might come up with some surprises.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But Chris is the guy that I'm like, I don't really think I could beat Chris.
Okay. So here we go.
Which I talked to Shan, and Shan cursed him out. I got it on tape. Like, Shan said, man, Daddy-o, man, Chris ain't never beat me, man. You talking about everybody but Chris.
Right.
Man, he said, I'll smoke some of the dudes in your group was trash, Daddy-o.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a cat, Shan, Mikey D, shout out to Mikey D. They not scared of Chris.
D was nice.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm not saying I'm scared. I just don't think I could beat him.
All right. So now I'm gonna have to challenge you a little bit. What's the cutoff point for everybody but Chris? Where's the
I would
cutoff
have to
year?
say 50.
No, okay, age wise.
Yeah, I would have to say 50.
So you saying 50 and up?
50 and up. I would have to say 50 and up.
All right. That changes the complexion.
Yeah, because I cannot go at that Big L Mob Deep guys. I can't go at Busta and them. I can't.
Okay.
I mean, that's dude,
okay.
that's something else. And I'm not saying I couldn't get there, but boy, oh boy, if I had to think about competing with Busta,
Right.
it'd take me a year and a half.
Right.
I could get there.
Okay.
But it'll take me some time.
See, I was gonna pull Cool G Rap out my hat because that's
See,
my.
G-Rap, I feel like came after us. He really is in our generation, but he really came after us in that way. Plus, G-Rap is almost better than an MC, so I don't know if I even could put him there.
Right.
You don't want to start talking about who I think is like hip-hop gods, but that's one of the guys.
Yeah.
I would put G-Rap is there's everything that came, like, right, so no disrespect to Ray, but, that's out of G-Rap. No disrespect to Kane, but that's out of G-Rap. No disrespect to Nas, but that's out of G-Rap. No disrespect to Mobb Deep, but this guy is a real father of styles.
Right.
That's a different kind of guy.
But you just say Kane, though. I find that's interesting that you say Kane.
I don't think Kane was definitely his own MC in the beginning. But I think once the record stuff started happening, they both sounded cold chilling. Right. Who knows how much of anybody's process. But I do think that G-Rap may have Kane a halfway step beat on that talking fast.
Right.
Because I'm not really a talking fast kind of guy, I know people love people like, Ritz and Yellow Wolf and all that, but that's not my thing.
Yeah.
But those guys talk fast and do some other sense-making stuff.
Right.
And I think G-Rap just got the edge on it. Plus, I really feel like as far as street rap is concerned, the only ones I don't give G-Rap street rap high is Pretty Tone and them, Mob Style from Harlem, who really wasn't that dope of rhymers.
Right.
But street-wise, that's the best street records ever made is Mob Style, my opinion.
Realist.
You know what I'm saying? The realest, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then G-Rap was right behind that.
Right.
And he did it as a musician because he came out with It's a Demo. All that was musician stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's dope.
Okay. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Now, you recently made some comments about Rakim.
I did.
Now, explain those comments. Were they misunderstood?
I think I said one thing. I said Rakim told the biggest lie in hip-hop. My interviewer asked me, what was that? And I said, he said, it ain't where you from, it's where you at. And I said, any hip-hop artist, and I spoke about other artists, but in this case, I'll keep it hip-hop. This is all hip-hop. Any hip-hop artist worth his salt will always talk about where he's from. And that's how I interpreted it.
Okay.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I've heard people talk back. I haven't heard any smart people really talk back. A couple of Rakim fans said some interesting things with it, which is they think I took the line out of context.
Right.
One of my best friends came to me and said, hey, man, you went in on dude. I think maybe you took the line out of context. I think he was talking about fans and not even artists. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, maybe I did. I'm sticking to it. It's competitive. Right. I would love it to be there. Like I said, the best thing that could come out of that line, which is, I said tons of more stuff in the interview, how I wanted to do Self-Destruction 2 with Chief Keef and Rick Ross and all this, but that's what was picked out. Yep. But I said the best thing that could come out of this is a Rakim record.
Right.
And then I'll be happy.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, dude, I really feel like, I know a lot of it has to do with like having a phone and being able to pull all my music together. But dude, when I listen to the music of my generation, I'm not even talking about Mel and them before it. And I hear some Houdini Escape stuff and some of that stuff, man. I know it's not 2016 music, but I'm saying, man, couple of little bit of coaching, couple of nice producers, a little bit of time into this thing. Cats can make some dope records now, will be relative. Ain't nobody gonna frown at them. Ain't nobody gonna call them no old man. It's gonna be something that they would expect them to say anyway. And I just think it would help a little bit of the variety of what we hear all the time.